Hello, everyone. I'm John. I'm going to be doing my TED Talk on gender, gender roles, gender stereotypes, and sexual orientation. So to start, can anybody tell me the difference between biological sex and gender? All right, so biological sex is the status of male or female assigned to you at birth via using your chromosomes and physical anatomy. Whereas gender is culture's expectations about what it means to be a man and or being a woman. Simply speaking, sex is determined 1, at your birth, and 2, by your body. Whereas gender is determined even later in life and by your mind. So speaking about men and women, they have many similarities, such as having 46 chromosomes, 45 of them being unisex, except for that one chromosome that determines male or female. It has been proven that men and women both have similar competitive levels, who wants to win. But we do have some major differences. So we have some differences in aggression, social power, and social connectedness. I'm going to focus heavily on aggression. So aggression is characterized by physical and or verbal behavior with the intent to hurt somebody else. In several studies, men have been proven to emit more aggression than their female counterparts. Women, however, do show that they emit some sort of aggression. It's more common in women to emit this relational aggression, which is similar to regular aggression, except it's with the intent to harm somebody's relationship or social standing. But moving on from that, is anybody able to tell me the difference between gender roles and gender identity? Great. So gender roles are social expectations of how a man or a woman need to behave in certain social situations. Gender roles are heavily influenced by the culture surrounding the people. Gender identity, however, is how you as an individual put yourself on the sliding scale of gender. So how do you identify yourself? It's a mind. So heavily in adolescence, kind of developing, is this social learning theory. So the social learning theory is when an individual learns a certain social behavior, observes that behavior, practices that behavior, and is rewarded and or punished for that behavior. So then they know that, hey, this is good, or hey, this is bad. But how can we help eliminate forced gender on people, or more importantly, children? Trying to get this idea of this 2-gender rule. How can we eliminate that? So there's a way we can do that is by starting to show our children that gender identity and or gender roles, they're not important. They're not important to your success. They're not important to what you do in public. They're just a way to categorize people. Some examples that can help prove children this is by doing things that aren't, gender typical, such as, mommy's fixing her own car engine and daddy's sweeping the floor and daddy's doing the dishes and mommy's mowing the lawn. But then you can also say that, daddy goes out and mows the lawn after mommy does it, next week. And it's a way to prove to children that certain situations and certain events, they're not heavily based on your gender. It's just who's going to do it. So these type of actions, they all fall under the term of androgyny. Or androgyny is pretty characteristic by a good blend of masculine and or feminine psychological traits. So it doesn't need to be a 50-50 split at all. It doesn't need to be that. But it's a good way to incorporate masculine and or feminine characteristics. But to go back to gender identity, there are some individuals that have a discrepancy with their biological sex and their gender identity. People that have this discrepancy are known as transgender people. But being transgender, it's just simply defined as an individual whose biological sex and gender do not match up. It's, nothing special. That's what it is. But Robert Sapolsky, a researcher, he had explained that transgender people, they don't feel another gender, they are that other gender. He had basically said that transgender people are not, just kind of choosing to feel this way. They are in their mind. They are, for example, a female in a male body. Transgender people are a member of the LGBTQ plus community. There's many different branches to that, but they are a member of that community, which leads me into my final topic today. Can anybody tell me how they characterize sexuality and sexual orientation? Perfect. So sexuality and sexual orientation are literally just who you are romantically and physically attracted to. So this term of human sexuality or sexual orientation has been around for ages, for so long. And it's really hard to pinpoint an exact definition because sexuality has roles with spirits, with the way they look, their gender, their sex, their personality. There's so many different sexualities out there that it's so hard to pinpoint exactly like what the 100% definition would be. So, as I had said previously, sexuality and sexual orientation are literally, as simple as it comes, who are you as an individual sexually and or romantically attracted to? And I have one more question to leave everybody with is, can you think back into a moment in your life where you chose to be heterosexual or chose to be straight, or where you chose who you're going to be sexually attracted to in general? Like, did you make that decision? Do you have a moment in your head where it kind of clicked? You were like, oh, hey, this is what it is. Well, members of the LGBTQ plus community can't pinpoint that moment either. And it's because sexuality is heavily a part of who you are your entire life.